Hello everybody, I am Jake, aka Bomber, and I welcome you into Jobber Radio's monthly Deathmatch Rundown. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you several different things that took place in July 2023 inside the deathmatch world of professional wrestling. I'm talking anything from those 5 must-see death matches that you better not skip over to special happenings in the scene that took place. We're also going to see what history was made during a deathmatch tournament in Indianapolis. And when it comes to those deathmatch championships, I have you covered in recapping each and every title match from the month. Now let's get this episode started with the Jesus Christ Spot of the Month. We find ourselves in Japan during GCW's tour this month at the Planet Death 2023 show. During a 6-man tag match, Cyclope pulled out a pair of syringes from his backpack, looking to use them on Violento Jack. But Toshiyuki Sakuda jumped into the ring to make the save. He pulled out a big safety pin and then shoved it through Cyclope's cheek. Would that be the end? No, of course not. Sakuda shoved the first syringe up through the right eyebrow and then the second through the left. Sakuda hit a 619 for good measure, and I think if you don't look at this spot and yell out, Jesus Christ, I don't think you can be helped. Let's talk about deathmatch tournaments here. It is time for the ADT4 tournament, the Asylum Deathmatch Tournament 4. We have 2 previous winners involved in this tournament. We're talking Dale Patricks and Remington Roar. And this had 16 competitors, so yes, this portion's going to be a little long because we're going to do a quick little recap of every single match in the tournament. Let's get to it. A lot to get to. Let's go. We head to Indianapolis, Indiana for AWR's Asylum Deathmatch Tournament 4, where 16 wrestlers would go to battle over 2 days to see who would leave with the ADT4 trophy. Now, there were a ton of matches over these 3 rounds, so let's get right into things with our first match. Austin Ryan would take on Cole Radrick, who was entering his 4th straight ADT, being the only wrestler to compete in all 4 tournaments. Radrick would battle through thumbtack bat shots, a Northern Light suplex into tacks, an ankle lock while laying in tacks, all to try and steal the win at the end with a roll-up. But Ryan reversed that, stealing the win back for himself. That leaves Ratty Daddy 0-4 through 4 ADT appearances. Rebecca Payne was up next to take on a tournament fill-in, Alex Stretch, in the next match. The Queen of the Death Matches 2008 and 2021 winner, Rebecca Payne, brought the heat in round number 1, but it was Alex Stretch who won the skewer exchange. He would also go on to win a lot more than that with his flying headbutt from the top rope. So that means the last-second fill-in, Alex Stretch, moved on to the second round. We had more fill-ins here with the next match. Bull Bronson stepped up to take on the ADT1 winner, Dale Patricks. Bronson used his size advantage here in this one, at one point looking to take out the knee of Patricks, but Dale refused to forfeit the match and jumped right back into the ring. With a bum knee and all, Patricks was able to outmaneuver Bronson, roll him up, and get the win. Sarah Dox came out next to take on Hardway Heater in a last motherfucker standing match. In what was a total shocker here, Sarah pulled Heater down from the top rope, slamming him down onto gusset plates and thumbtack bats. She would then roll him out of the ring where he just couldn't get up to answer the 10 count. That means Sarah Dox advanced, eliminating Hardway Heater. Next up, we had 2 people entering the Asylum Deathmatch Tournament for the first time. We're talking Hoodfoot Mo Atlas and his opponent, Brian Richards, who came out busted open already. In what turned out to be almost a normal match, Hoodfoot would eventually hit his Saito suplex to pick up the win. There was a little bit of bloodshed here, but Hoodfoot made it out of round number 1 pretty much unscathed. Then in a shark teeth death match, Chet Ripley faced off against Brad Cash. We saw Chet Ripley flying everywhere in this one, across the ring, out of the ring, off some speakers, into Brad with a Rough Rider. I mean, Chet got in plenty of offense here. He would try his best to carve Cash up, but in the end, he would take a big chokeslam onto a pile of shark teeth that would do him in. Last year's ADT winner Remington Roar entered the tournament next to take on I Am the Provider. You might as well have made this a handicap match though, because I Am the Product got involved midway through this match and just never left. Roar wouldn't have much of a problem though, because he fought off both men nearly with ease. A muscle buster later, and Remington Roar found himself advancing to the next round. In the last match of round number 1, Jimmy Chondo Lion took on his friend and the man with a hurt leg, Matt Tremont. And yes, this was a gusset fuckery death match, which we saw Chondo bleeding buckets not long into this thing. And Tremont would soon join him on that journey. Tremont foiled a non-boot scrape from Jimmy by throwing a gusset plate under his foot, and that may have just been the best counter of all time. We would later get an attitude adjustment onto a chair with gusset plates attached to it for the win for Matt Tremont. Now on to round number 2 and night number 2. Sadly, last year's winner, Remington Roar, had a match with Mickey Knuckles earlier on this show where he did beat her to win the AWR Revolutionary title, but he sustained an injury during that match and was forced to pull out of the tournament. Hoodfoot would receive a bye and move on to the finals. So in the first actual match of round number 2, Austin Ryan targeted the knee of Dale Patricks. Dale limped all over the ringside area as Ryan tracked him down, dishing out more punishment to him. Fighting on one leg, Patricks had to resort to any means necessary and low-blowed Ryan, then followed it up with a chokeslam through a television to pick up that win. Yep, hurt knee and all, Dale Patricks advanced to the final round. Brad Cash would come down to the ring next to take on Sarah Dox. Early on into this match, it looks like Sarah cut her right ear pretty bad and would start losing a lot of blood. Regardless though, Brad just completely dominated this match. There was a failed high-risk maneuver where Brad capitalized with a barrage of light tubes to eventually keep Sarah down for the 3-count victory. With that win, Brad Cash joined Hoodfoot and Dale Patricks in the finals. But we had one more match in round number 2, and that would be Matt Tremont taking on one of his H2O students, Alex Stretch. There was some barroom brawling, there were forks, there were plenty of doors. And speaking of doors, there was an attitude adjustment onto a light tube door, which Stretch shot his shoulder up only on a 1 count. He was then powerbombed onto a gusset plate covered pallet, only for him to kick out at 1 yet again. But the third time is a charm. One more AA and Stretch was out for good. So Matt Tremont is the 4th man in that finals match. And it is that time. It is a 4-way elimination death match. We have Matt Tremont. We have Hoodfoot. We have Brad Cash. And we have the first ever ADT winner, Dale Patricks. Tremont was the first to taste light tubes as this broke down into pure chaos with dozens of light tube shots to the head. And then midway through the match, we saw the canvas removed from the ring, leaving the exposed boards. With this match being elimination rules, we first saw Brad Cash eliminated by Dale Patricks after a Uranage onto the boards and a boatload of broken glass. Then almost immediately after that, Hoodfoot planted Patricks down onto the boards with a brain buster to eliminate him. The intensity continued as Tremont and Hoodfoot battled it out over that trophy. Even after Hoodfoot's Saito suplex from the middle rope, Tremont was barely, and I mean barely, able to get his shoulder up. Still in control though, Hoodfoot would hit one more Saito suplex. This time, it would be enough. With the final elimination of the match, Hoodfoot Mo Atlas makes history, becoming the first black wrestler to ever win a traditional deathmatch tournament.
Hoodfoot has become the god of death!
No deathmatch archives this month, but what we are going to talk about instead are some big tournaments coming up soon, some of which are sponsored by Jobber Radio. The first one coming up on August 12th is going to be Ruthless Pro Wrestling's King of the Kill, their first annual deathmatch tournament. We have 8 names, all of which you need to be excited about. We got Crazy King, Joel Bateman, Schlack, Hoodfoot, Dr. Redacted, Remington Roar, Judge Joe Dredd, and yes, Tommy Vendetta. It's all going to be taking place in maybe Michigan. I hope I'm saying that right. By the way, maybe, I think that's right. And if you can't make it, don't worry, it is going to be streaming on IWTV. Make sure you check it out. And I'm going to be releasing a full card breakdown, tournament predictions all the way through, telling you who I think is going to win the tournament. That video is going to come out very soon, actually, right here on the channel, so don't miss it. And yes, on September 23rd, Combat Zone Wrestling is bringing back Tournament of Death. We're talking TOD 20, folks. I'm very excited that we're partnering up once again with CZW and have another Tournament of Death. This is going to be a lot of fun. I am very excited. Just like the King of the Kill video, there is going to be a full prediction of TOD. We're going to talk about it more as we get a little bit closer. But again, it's going to take place on September 23rd. More content to come here on the channel, so make sure you hit that little subscribe button if you want to hear about some more TOD coming up soon. One more show I want to talk to you guys about that we are going to be sponsoring here on Jobber Radio, and that is H2Os. We're talking hardcore hustle organizations, WrestleMania 6 event. It takes place on September 10th. You can watch it on IWTV, or you could show up in New Jersey and watch it in person. That would be fun. We partnered up with them last year for WrestleMania 5. It was a lot of fun. Vicky Knuckles got surprise inducted into the H2O Hall of Fame. She then went on and beat Tremont in the main event. Very fun match. Who knows what WrestleMania 6 is going to have in store for us, but don't worry. I'm going to break it all down. Just like the other two shows, we're going to have a full prediction, full card breakdown right here on the channel. Just hit subscribe. You'll get that too. So stick around. H2O WrestleMania 6 coming to you next month. I think that's enough of the plugs for now, but if you're watching this video, I have a feeling you already know about some of these shows and you know they're going to be good. I don't have to sit up here and just, throw it in your face. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I think you already know these are 3 shows they're going to produce. I'm just letting you know what Jobber Radio is going to be sponsoring and what we're going to be getting a little more in depth with here on the channel, so you have more stuff to look forward to instead of just the monthly deathmatch rundowns that I usually pop out at the end of every month. All right, let's talk about some deathmatch championships. We got 5 title matches here to talk about, 4 different championships, one of which we are covering for the first time here on the monthly deathmatch rundown, and I'm hoping we can fit it right into our rotation of all our other titles, but as long as, we can watch all the matches, we'll see how that goes. But either way, here we go. 5 title matches. Let's get to them. Kicking off the month of July, Hoodfoot would put his ICW American Deathmatch World Championship on the line at ICW's No Holds Barred Volume 49 show. His opponent would be none other than the man who has been making waves all year long, Tommy Vendetta, and of course, he was flanked by Darren McCarty. There was a lot of trading going on in this match. First, it was light tubes, then it was chairs, then we had fists, and then it was even more light tubes. Vendetta would break out his trademark Legos and drive the champ's head down into them, but it would not be enough. Tommy shot Darren a shocked look and then went to set up a door in the corner. Darren would jump in, squirt lighter fluid all over the door, and light it up. Hoodfoot would flip the script though and slam Tommy through the burning door with his Saito suplex. Now you would think that would probably score the win for the champ, but nope. With Darren McCarty freaking out, he ended up getting ejected from the ringside area, but that would prove to be a distraction for Hoodfoot, with Tommy taking advantage, hitting 3 consecutive pile drivers. Surely we have a new champion after that. Nope. Now desperate, Tommy would set up a pane of glass and call for one more pile driver from the top rope. Hoodfoot would once again counter Vendetta, this time with a spinning suplex through the glass. And with that, the challenger Tommy Vendetta failed to kick out, making yet another successful title defense for Hoodfoot. Jumping to the end of July on the 28th, Hoodfoot's work was not done just yet. He would have yet another multi-title defense month, with the second match coming at ICW No Holds Barred Volume 50 event. He would put that ICW American Deathmatch World Championship up against a GCW and H2O Hall of Famer, Low-Life Louis Ramos. And the first light tubes used instantly sliced Louis up good on his forehead. He tried to answer with a gusset plate to Hoodfoot's head, but immediately regretted that decision. The champ kept the momentum going up until Louis moved out of the way of a door and Hoodfoot wiped himself out. That's where Louis pulled out some type of tool and just started grinding away at his opponent's skull. Looking to end the match early, Louis would set up a bundle of light tubes across some chairs, but Hoodfoot would counter with his trademark Saito suplex. Hoodfoot would then hit another Saito suplex where Louis shot up and he started hulking up. And of course, you know what comes next, the big leg drop to the champ, but somehow he stayed alive. After missing a second leg drop, Christmas came early for Louis when Hoodfoot drilled him with an ornament bat a couple times here. Then it would be one final suplex to get the win and end the match. That is yet another match, another month, another successful title defense for Hoodfoot. For the first time on the rundown, we are covering the Crimson Crown Wrestling Supreme Violence Championship. On July 2nd at CCW Scars and Stripes event in Los Angeles, Sage Sin Supreme would be putting her title up against a deathmatch veteran, a guy who was having his first match in nearly a year. And that would be Homeless Jimmy. Sage Sin took it to her challenger early and would use his own shopping cart against him by ramming light tubes directly into his crotch. The beatdown continued with a fan of light tubes, and she would even hit a brutal-looking Code Red off of the shopping cart. Jimmy got a little bit of offense in here, but it wouldn't be that much. He got a couple light tube shots in, and then he broke out this devastating looking chair wrapped in barbed wire. At the end of the match, Sage Sin pulled Jimmy onto his own shopping cart once again and would blind him with green mist to the face. He also rubbed the mist into her face as well and then countered with a big looking DDT down onto the cart. He quickly covered Sage and picked up a 3-count victory. That means Homeless Jimmy becomes the 4th CCW Supreme Violence Champion, ending Sage Sin's reign at 245 days. Now on to RPW's Kamikaze Championship, held by the inaugural champion, Schwartzy. At Flophouse Wrestling's FLP Punk event, he would try to defend his title for the first time against Eric Dillinger. This no-ring deathmatch got fired up with a chop fest, and these chops were being laid in big time here. And then pretty quickly, this match spilled out into the streets. I really wonder what people driving by were thinking while this was going on. Barbed wire bats were broke out. We saw barbed wire doors being broken. There were also chairs wrapped in barbed wire being used. Oh, and barbed wire halos as well. Lots of barbed wire if you haven't picked up on that yet. We even saw Schwartzy lock in his figure 4 with barbed wire tangled up around their legs. Dillinger tried to fight through the pain, but in the end, he just couldn't hang in there and was forced to tap out. That means Schwartzy is successful in his first Kamikaze title defense. It will be pretty interesting to see what company he shows up in next, putting that belt on the line. At the XPW show titled I Hope You Die, Shlak would defend the King of the Deathmatches championship against The Body. Now, this wasn't as much of a match as it was a one-sided massacre. Shlak would just throw The Body around the ring like a sack of potatoes, and at one point even powerbombed him directly on the top of his head. There was just absolutely no chance for The Body to win this match. He was treated like a lifeless dummy all throughout this thing. The only real offense he got off was when he kissed Shlak and shoved him down onto a razor board and then followed that up with an elbow drop from the top. But seriously, that was it. Shlak would hit an Alabama slam onto that same razor board and then would lock in a super deep looking Boston Crab, forcing The Body to tap out. Not satisfied with that quick finish, Shlak brought a large wooden X into the ring and ended up strapping The Body to it. He pinned The Body up in the corner, pelting him with light tube shot after light tube shot, giving him a pretty bad cut directly under his chin. Shlak put the cherry on top of this thing, or a barbed wire crown of thorns, same thing, as he exited the ring still champion with another dominating victory. Oh, I almost forgot, he threw in one last belt shot to the head, I guess just for good measure. Now on to the H2O Danny Havoc Hardcore World Championship. On July 29th at Barbed Wire City Showdown 2, we saw a Stairway to Havoc match between the challenger, Bam Sullivan, and the champion, Brandon Kirk. With the title hanging above the ring, both men started playing a little bit of mind games by setting the ladder up together and then climbing up together. Eventually, Kirk would trick Bam and the match got going from there. As you would expect, there were a bunch of ladders used in this match with nobody really getting full control of the match. Then at one point, Bam would set up a smaller ladder with a bunch of light tubes on the top of it, while Brandon set up a door and panes of glass bridges on the opposite side. Brandon grabbed Bam looking for a power bomb off the ladder, but instead he caught a chair to the face. Both men would then once again climb to the top of the ladder where they would trade light tube headshots back and forth. Bam won that trade-off with one final blow to the skull, and with Kirk hanging on the side of the ladder, Bam started to squirt lighter fluid onto the pane of glass down beside them. The challenger would then chuck the champ off the ladder, so he fell through the flaming glass contraption, but unfortunately for Brandon, it did not break, and he rolled out of the ring on fire. That is when Bam was free to pull down the title, becoming the first two-time Danny Havoc Hardcore World Champion. Kirk's title reign comes to an end after a whopping 320 days, meaning that he held this title longer than anybody else in the company's history. I also want to point out that Mouse came out right after the match, and it looks like Bam already has his first challenger lined up. All right, now we are getting into the 5 must-see matches of July that you need to go back and watch. And right off the bat, let me tell you this. July was very difficult. Like I say it every month, I think. June, April, I think was very difficult as well because, WrestleMania. But man, this was easily trumps those. This was way harder to pick the 5 matches. There were like 6 matches I had to go through just to narrow down and get that final spot. A lot of high profile matches, a lot of other very good matches did not make the cut. So sorry, but we can't make this segment forever. Only 5 matches. In my opinion, these are 5 you need to go back and watch if you missed them. So here's a little couple reviews for you. Let's see it. Just 3 days before Independence Day, ICW No Holds Barred held their Volume 49 event in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And that is where the murder surgeon Dr. Redacted traded in his scrubs for something a little more festive to take on 440's Bobby Beverly. From the rip, Dr. Redacted visibly set the Bev off with a wild light tube shot to the hand that I don't think he appreciated. Beverly then proceeded to beat the absolute hell out of Redacted with some of the hardest looking light tube shots you are going to see all month. I'm not gonna lie, I think this was the most intensity I've ever seen out of Beverly, and it added a ton to this match. Mixed in with those vicious headshots, there was a trifecta of back-to-back-to-back suplexes onto light tubes. After that, these two spent a while fighting out amongst the fans, with Beverly laying on a door. Redacted connected with a hard-looking senton. Now in control of the match, Redacted draped Bobby over the chains, and he drove light tubes into his back with a double stomp that fired the crowd up even more. The Doc is not afraid to use his body as a weapon, as he launched himself onto the back of Beverly right here with full force. Looking to get back into this match, Bobby hit a nice suplex onto a chair and some tubes. It was at this point we got one of the biggest and wildest back and forth light tube headshot trading that I have ever seen. I mean, seriously, look at the plumes of dust filling the TWE arena. These guys were just straight up killing each other out there. I was literally afraid for Redacted at one point. Thankfully though, Beverly ended the slaughter with a fisherman's DDT through a pane of glass in the corner. He would pin Dr. Redacted to pick up yet another win inside the chains. I don't think I can say it enough. This was an insane match between these two, and it happens to be my favorite that they've had so far. You just gotta check it out. 2 words, ultra-violent kumite. On July 16th at Circle 6's Love Don't Live Here event, Akira took on the Bev, Bobby Beverly. With exposed boards and light tubes and glass littering the ring, we saw these two go toe-to-toe in an absolute bloodbath. Now, the first 10 minutes saw Akira dominating this thing. There were light tube shots after light tube shots, a massive electric chair drop. Akira targeted Beverly's knees, and the splintered side of a board was used to choke out the Bev. We also saw some submissions here with the ring post being used for a figure 4, and Akira locked in a deep-looking STF. Beverly resorted to throwing some shards of glass into the eyes of Akira, finally getting some control in this match. Once he was in control, he pulverized Akira with 11 straight light tube shots to the head, and then slammed him down on the rest of the box with a back suplex. Yeah, the blood was freely flowing at this point. Beverly tried to shove a broken light tube down the throat of Akira, but he countered it by just chomping down on the glass and then spitting it into his face. The match would spill outside of the ring, where things would slow down a bit after the cameras seemingly got lost in the action. Eventually, they would fight their way back to the ringside area and then back into the ring, which is where they would end up smashing every single light tube they could find over one another. The boards were pulled back to reveal a web of barbed wire strung between the steel beams. They tried to one-up each other one last time before Bobby Beverly countered a rear naked choke by scooping Akira up and diving down into that barbed wire webbing. And that's where Beverly laid on Akira, covering him to get the win. Wow, I mean, this match was raw ultra violence that you love to see. In fact, right now it is up for free on Circle 6's YouTube channel for a limited time, I heard, so depending on when you see this, you need to go watch it quick. GCW was on tour in Japan this month, and at the Planet Death show, dare I say, we saw one of the best 6-man tag team death matches of the year. We saw ERE comprised of Takayuki Yuki, Toshiyuki Sakuda, and Violento Jack take on Jimmy Lloyd, Muero Extremo, and Ciclope. There were a ton of unique weapons used in this match, like those hard plastic storage boxes. And what the hell are these things? If you know, let me know, because I have no clue. But I assume they did not feel good when Sakuda was suplexed onto him. I absolutely love the use of Japanese doors in this match.
Oh, ninja style!
They used the doors in other ways too, which just were not as funny. Then we had the whole pens and needles spot of the match that just freaks me out watching it. I mean, in the eyebrows, really? There were more creative moves like the sliced bread through the tower of storage bins onto Jimmy Lloyd. I like how Muero Extremo decided to yeet Sakuda out of the ring into the void at one point. Thumbtacks were used briefly, but then we also had to bring cinder blocks into the equation. I'm not sure if a flying headbutt with a cinder block is the best of ideas, but it happened. Speaking of not the best ideas, Ciclope then took a full glass bottle of Corona smashed over his head. And to think, after everything but the kitchen sink was used, a frog splash from the top rope would be the final move to take the win for Los Macizos and Jimmy Lloyd. I cannot recommend this match enough. It will not disappoint, I promise you that. There was another match that you need to go watch from that Planet Death show, and that was Masashi Takeda taking on former GCW World Champion and current Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champion, Masha Slamovich. This was a very hard-hitting match in which Masha took an absolute beating in. From the light tube shots to being carved up by Takeda's trademark giant scissors, it looked like we were going to witness some murder here. Now don't get me wrong, Masha would keep showing the fight in her, even though he would continue to shut her down. Masha's strikes proved to be on point, and at certain points she even rocked Takeda, but he had some counters of his own. And speaking of counters, look how perfect this clothesline counter into an armbar looked. Now, there were some big moves that were broke out near the end of this match, like this power bomb where Masha had these light tubes stuck behind her back. She connected with an air raid crash onto some light tubes in the middle of the ring, and then she took a brutal-looking release German suplex, which she quickly showed Takeda what she thought of him, and he returned the favor by almost ripping her face off. Then he slammed her down with a Dominator. It would finally take his trademark lifting inverted DDT to eventually put her away for the 3 count. Talk about an underdog fighting spirit from bell to bell. This was one of the best matches of the entire month, and I think it was the most hard-hitting match period on GCW's tour in Japan. So do yourself a favor and go check it out. More GCW, more Japan, more Takeda. In the main event at the New Face of War show, the bad boy Joey Janela went to battle for nearly 20 minutes with Masashi Takeda. There's no way this short little review will do this match justice, so trust me when I say load up fight and watch this match as soon as you can, aka after this video. Things started slow here with some wrist, head, and waist locks, then we even got some headstands thrown in. As the ultra-violence started to ramp up though, this match pushed into those top tier territories. Joey hit a picture-perfect razor's edge onto some light tubes just before he was cut badly on the forearm with this shotgun kick here. Even with a bad cut, Janela continued and had his head smashed in the process. If that chair shot didn't do it, this dragon suplex on the ring apron may have done the job. Takeda took his share of punishment as well. Joey spread light tubes across 6 chairs and would climb up a ladder, grabbing on Takeda and suplex him down into the carnage. Just an awesome visual here, and it wouldn't even come close to being the end of the match. They traded some light tube headshots, followed by some good old scissor stabbing. Then we got a DVD, followed by some more trading, this time German suplexes. Joey had his head taken off with a spinning back fist, but the bad boy wouldn't stay down. As the end of the match approached, more near falls took place. The crowd were just eating it all up. Takeda would hit a beautiful looking swanton off the ladder, but not even that would be enough for the win. A little glass to the mouth, followed by another brutal chair spot, and Janela kicked out again, enraging his opponent. With only one thing left to do, Takeda dropped Janela directly onto his head and neck to finally score that victory. What a crazy build up to the finish for this match. Easily a must watch. And there you have it, folks. 5 must-see matches from July 2023. You need to go back and watch if you haven't already. Hey, if you already seen them, go back and watch them again. Well worth it. And yes, if you didn't notice, there were 2 matches from the Bev again, and I don't want anybody to say, oh, you're wearing a Bev shirt. He's a big Bobby Beverly fan. He's just being biased. Yes, I am a Bobby Beverly fan. Not being biased, I don't think there's a lot of people out there that can argue that some of his matches that have been taking place over the past several months haven't been deserved to be in these top 5 matches. So don't be coming at me with any bias talk. I make sure I do everything absolutely as unbiased as possible. I cover every single deathmatch company, every single deathmatch I get my hands on. I want to cover it and show you guys if it needs to be shown. And with that said, July was a huge month for deathmatch wrestling. Looking ahead with August and September, dude, things are going to get out of control. With Jobber Radio sponsoring 3 of these shows coming up the next several months, I am going to be releasing extra videos for full card breakdowns, full predictions on tournaments and all that. So stick around the channel, see what's going to happen, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I absolutely appreciate any bit of support you guys have out there. The biggest thing you can do is just spread the word, share the videos, do everything you can. Let's just get more people talking about independent wrestling and more people talking about deathmatch wrestling. So as I say, if you can, go out there and support independent wrestling. Buy some of the merch, go out there, buy some of the DVDs, do what you can, support the people that do what we all love. Don't be a dick. Do not be a pirate, okay? All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.
up. Maybe looking for a power bomb. Oh! Good God!